And I'd like to say hello to part number 3 of this Day 9 Daily number 483, where we are doing a Newbie Tuesday about dem Zerg leak finding, and I can't believe I didn't announce this in part 1. It was the one thing I wanted to announce. One of the greatest groups of all time, Purity Ring, who kindly has given me permission to play their music in the breaks in the daily, has released their first album, Shrines! Oh my god, it's actually really good. I actually super bought the shit out of it, and you should too. Just look up Shrines by Purity Ring. Yeah. I'll play it right after the daily's done, so that way all you beautiful live viewers can hear some of them beats. And if you're an archive viewer, just YouTube it. Just YouTube it. Buy it. And then when you buy it, in the comments, just say Day 9 made me do it. Yeah. I don't have a promo code or anything that would reflect back on me. I just want you to say that because it feels cool. In part number 1, we established some basic rules of playing Zerg, especially if we're not at Master or Grandmaster and we're having trouble sort of feeling things out. These are good, I guess I would say, lay of the land type rules for people who are not trying to be pro. It's like if you play like 5-10 games a week because you just like StarCraft. Always favor building drones over units. And if you're losing because you have no units at all and 100 drones, then you are playing correctly. This is a good thing. It's very easy to learn when you're doing this. You will have dumb losses, but you'll be very clear how to learn from it. The second thing that sort of builds off this is that because we're trying to make as many drones as possible, we should be relying on larva inexpensive units like queens, spines in the early game, like roaches, infestors, mutalisks in the mid game. We should also be getting upgrades for units instead of the units themselves. If we have 4 hatches and 20 larvae, we can easily build 20 roaches if we need to. The only thing that matters is if those roaches have the upgrades that make them good. Last, but most importantly, try to win at Hive Tech. Try to win at Hive Tech. Try to win at freaking Hive Tech. So important to do. So important to do. So as we're seeing our good friend, Mr. Giant Gnome, he's having the classic Zerg issue where he has a surge of money because he's waiting for that larva to pop off. And with the surge of money, he erroneously gets a whole bunch of buildings, he gets another expansion, he starts a bunch of upgrades. Always make sure you first spend larva. That's the most important thing ever. Spending larva in general. And what do we want to spend it on? Drones! Drones! Yep, see, we're getting layer. Look at all this idle larva. Yucky. Ew. Grody, grossy, gross. Ewy, yucky. Ugh. 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 I'll once again note that as a general concept, we want to have an extra macro hatch on 3 bases. Ooh, look at all those drones being produced. I love that. That's so great. Yeah, cool. Getting Spire up, getting more upgrades up. Would still love a macro hatch to be constructed right now. A little bit of a mistake that's going on is that we're not keeping a super close tab on where this army is. This Overlord's doing, oops, some. But we would also like to control this watchtower and this watchtower. If you can take a watchtower, then by God, take it! So, alright, we've done a pretty good job getting our drone count up. What are some other precautionary things we do? Getting a Baneling nest. Excellent. I really like that. But I'd also like to note that in the mid-game, when we're building mutalisks, mutalisks are a cheap on larva unit. We spend 10 larvae, that's it, 10 larvae to spend all this money. And we can harass them while we're building drones. Mutalisks, another really nice resource, or a really nice thing to do while building all dem units. Everything right now, honestly, seems strategically great. We're having flubs, we're missing a little bit on some of our upgrades and that sort of thing. I would say the only strategic mistake that has gone on thus far is that we haven't built a macro hatch. And here is where the biggest strategic mishap occurs. We're taking a 4th when our opponent is not really getting too expand heavy. We should at the very least get a sense of what he's doing with his unit composition before we take a 4th base. 4th bases are actually really scary to do, and are amazingly some of the most coincidentally taken bases of all Zerg. Because generally what happens is you're like, oh, I forgot to macro. I guess I'll expand. That's literally the entire thought process, start to finish. You want to be careful of that. This 4th should be here, because we're going mutiling. Mobile forces means that we should spread out. Our Mutalisks, if we're harassing him a lot, would be very nice to be able to take a 4th base. But we don't want to be taking that 4th base when we just don't know. This is why you'll see players build a macro hatch, and then they'll do harassment with these Mutalisks, and then they'll go ahead and expand here. Incidentally, this wound up being correct, and not the biggest deal ever, but it is actually purely incidental. Mutalisks are another kind of funky unit, where this might seem, I mean, in the units lost tab, it was clearly a total loss, but it's one of these things that seems like a good idea at the time. He's left his base, let me just kill off all these Marines here, and if I can just kill this turret, then I can harass his worker line. It's always more important to keep your units alive than it is to kill stuff off with those units. And to extend this a bit, why is it more important to keep those Mutalisks alive? Because we're trying to win at Hive. We're not trying to win right now. That's one of our golden rules with the Zergy pieces. So I like that we're seeing Ling, Baneling being produced. In this emergency sort of situation, I would prefer a Larva expensive unit for defense. I would prefer Infestors over Lings and Banelings, since we have this huge pack of Ling Baneling out. I'm sort of fine with that. But now that we've lost our Mutalisk and we're feeling a little concerned, then definitely that's another follow-up thing. And I want to relate this moment that happened right here. So this looked good for Giant Gnome. This felt good. But I already see everyone in the chat going, holy shit, the Zerglings went way ahead. This is the most common combat trend for people who, you know, don't play StarCraft 2 a ton, is just lack of patience and pulling back and repositioning. This right here is just a lack of patience. Total lack of patience. The Zerglings didn't do horrifically. They did quite bad, but not, you know, as bad as they could have done. And then we ended up winning with our Banelings. I want to relate this moment right here to this moment all the way back here at the 4-minute mark. Remember this? You'll see all the same behavior again and again and again and again. If you find yourself doing this once, then you can look it up a million different times, often within the same game, and see this sort of, oh my god, I gotta go kill them all. To come back to this battle, it is entirely appropriate to send these Zerglings here, and entirely appropriate to sort of be surprised. Like, if you send your units here and you see this, oh my gosh, there's nothing wrong with running the Lings back this way and then running the Banelings down here. Nothing wrong with it at all. I'd also like to note, yeah, that's a 9. Aw, yeah, it's a blood 9. Alright. Now, again, we're in a situation where we've just killed off an enemy army. We had lack of patience engaging the army with the bunker rush, and engaging it right now. After we kill an army, that kind of tends to be one of the worst times to attack. Right when we kill his army. Right when we kill his army, that doesn't mean that he has no defense. Sometimes it means he has no defense, but it doesn't generally mean that. What it 100% means is that he cannot do any attack to us. That's what it means always. So whenever you kill a big attack, right now, if I'm Zerg, what I want to do is I want to, after I've killed off this attack here, is I want to take all my units and just kind of reestablish control here and here, drone up, hive up, and build a bunch of infestors. Seems totally great. Mutalisks. In general, I like Mutalisks. Why are Mutalisks an incorrect decision in this position? Because we're trying to win with Hive, and now that we have our Hive, we're doing something that does not use a Hive. Mutalisks don't use a Hive. Things like Infestors, even though it is a layer tech unit, does, I would claim, use a Hive, because Infestor Broodlord is a nice composition. Mutalisk Broodlord is a not-so-good composition. Anytime you kill off an army, you should both consider expanding and consider droning up. We have 67 drones. That's a good amount of drones, but we should still consider droning up. So again, Giant Gnome is in this position where he kind of just builds lings because he can, and this drop happens, where the Terran is surprised a little bit by this expansion popping up. And the Zerglings, amazingly, help us stay alive. Where it's so easy to convince yourself that these Zerglings were the right thing to do. If we had built 10 Infestors, and no Mutalisks and no Zerglings, we would have crushed this attack, and still been in good condition to work with our Hive. Again, it's not that Mutalisks and Lings are bad. Mutalisks and Lings are great. But when we're close to Hive, we don't really want them anymore. We want to focus more on our Hive, because we're trying to win with Hive tech. Zerglings letting these medevacs know this is not a good time to drop. So we just killed off another army. Now is a good time to drone, to expand, to do things that are hard to do unless we have a lot of time. Getting Corruptors, getting Broodlords. So easy after you kill off an attack to just go doing and get the Mega Boner and just rush in and try to kill them off. Things like this can really trick you into thinking that it was the correct move. Tanks are super good, by the way. But I'm sure as many of you experienced, this moment occurs, and you're Zerg, and you go, oh my god, I don't have any units at all. And then suddenly, trying to recover again. But I want to note that, again, right back here, right when our attack failed, it's just done, go for the low on larva defense, if we can. Infestors and Spines would be great. Infestors and Spines would be great. And now this big attack comes. I'm going to speed this along because we're essentially the same concept again. We killed off an attack. Now is a good time to gear up a little bit more for a defensive phase. I actually love that Giant Gnome allowed this expansion to die. That's a tough decision to make in-game, but absolutely the correct one. He buys time to get his Banelings up, he kills this off, loses more Banelings than he needs to, and now is an opportune moment to, yeah, go for the Hive tech. Yeah, to not attack with this army, to build drones, to re-expand, to kill off this pack of medevacs that's kind of positioning itself sacrificially. We can recontrol the Watchtower. Hey, he has an expansion up. Should we send all these Ling Baneling to kill it? 100% no. We might send 12 Zerglings to see if maybe we could poke in there, but we're not going to waste our Banelings there. We're going to use our Corruptors to turn into Broodlords, and then we'll worry about pushing this thing. This position is odd. I would much favor here. Your expansions should always be related to your army in some way. If you have a rally point here, your units pop out close to it. Or if it's, you know, if you're going Mutalang and you're sending your stuff to opposite ends of the map, then, you know, it's good to be expanding to opposite ends of the map. When stuff like this happens, I mean, just envision for a moment. If we had a Broodlord army and we expanded here, or hell, even here, notice how this expansion relates to where the position of our army is. Now, Zerg doesn't have Infestor, and it's easy to focus on composition. Poor Giant Gnome, like losing everything, still unsure if he's going to win. The game actually doesn't end for a while. The Vikings are out killing off all this, and he realizes he has no anti-air. Sure, Infestors would have helped, but an important mistake not to make is to not do the following, where you say, Oh my gosh. If I had infestors now, they would help. I guess I should go infestors then, right? Like, it's instead the I should have had infestors in the first place. I don't actually think that, given the game position, infestors were that necessary. He could have gone Corruptor Broodlord and then pushed and been totally great and excellent. Come on, train of thought. Come on. This is why I don't do. This is why I keep the daily to an hour, because I can't keep a train of thought longer for an hour, longer than an hour. Crap, what was I gonna say? Oh no. Yeah, he could have gone Infestor and stayed defensive. Because he elected to attack, he can skip Infestor, favor more Broodlords and Corruptors and Lings, and be more aggressive. But the most important thing that's sticking out into my mind is what's going on with the expanding behind the Infestors at that late point. I have more to say, but I don't care, because I want to get to a Zerg vs. Zerg, damn it. Between Urk and Blink. Urk and Blink. Urk and Blink. Blink says good luck, good luck. Right off the bat, we're going to see Blink go for a 10 pool. And Urk is going to go for an early expand. I will note, Urk does a absolutely correct play that most people will call incorrect. And if you call this incorrect, you're frickin' wrong, damn it. Alright, here is... I'm going to describe the wrong decision. Let's say you're Urk. You're a college kid, right? Maybe, you know, play StarCraft every now and again, hang out with your buddies at the cafeteria, talk about math, homework, because you majored in math, because you value cool things, cool subjects in school. Yes. Either way, you're a math major, and that's what's important. For the very first time ever, you encounter, dun dun dun, an early pool strategy. And this moment happens. Let's say you've never seen a 10 pool before in your life. Ever. You've never seen a 10 pool before in your life. You've seen 6 pools, and you look at this and you go, well, that's not a 6 pool. This seems kind of early. I don't know. Let me emphasize the phrase, I don't know. I don't know. I want to hone in on that phrase. If you don't know exactly what the right thing to do is, then you absolutely must do what you normally do. You absolutely must do that. The wrong thing to do is to look at this and say, ooh, God, that pool feels earlier than normal. I was gonna expand, but oh, God, let me go ahead and build my own spawning pool back home. That's wrong. That is the wrong thing to do. The right thing to do is to see this and go, well, I think my early expand holds off a 14 pool. Maybe it can hold this thing off. That is correct. That is the correct decision to make. Why is that? Because it makes our learning absolutely clear. Only when you don't know, or only when you do know exactly how to respond, should you cancel your plan. So Urk didn't know. He just went, alright, I'm going to hatch, expand, and then I'm going to spawning pool, and then this happens. This happens, right? Do. Oh my God, there's a 0% chance we're going to hold that off. Holy crap, Urk realizes all of a sudden, oh my God, I got to cancel it. Now this is actually probably the most counterintuitive thing I'm going to say in the entire Newbie Tuesday. That whole bit I just did. But I literally can't emphasize enough how essential it is that you understand that what Urk did is fantastic, is great. What I am emphasizing is learning how to win, not winning this one individual single game. if you get caught up in the, oh my god, I better win this one single game. Like, if you get in that mindset, then what happens is you spot this pool. You spot this pool and you go, oh my god, I want to win this one game. I hope I don't lose to a rush. Let me build my pool way earlier. Oh my god, I've never done this build before. Wait a minute. Oh wait, I could have held that off. Oh shit, I should have expanded. Then you're fucked. The easiest thing to do is to be in this situation where you go, well, I guess next time I see a 10 pool, I should build my spawning pool earlier. And suddenly, the learning that you did is clear as can be. I almost said clear as pie. Pie's very opaque. It's clear as day. Completely clear what you should do next time. And always, in StarCraft 2, you want to focus on learning what to do next time, not what miraculous decision to do in this game. It's clear as pie. So, there's some overreaction that Urk does here, where he gets the Zerglings out and builds 2 spine crawlers, sort of like as an, oh my god, I hope I stay alive sort of thing, and re-expands. And ends up canceling the spine crawlers, but I think maybe one finishes as well. But this is very common to have happen, where Urk makes a blunderous blunder. Excuse me. And no problem. Urk, in the next game he plays, is going to have a really clear sense of how to go along. Now, Zerg vs. Zerg in the opening game is kind of one of the most confusing things, but it makes it really easy if you start spreading your overlords. Every overlord in Zerg vs. Zerg needs to be somewhere in the middle of this map. Alright, pop quiz. When is the earliest time you should begin pulling back your overlords? Earliest time would be 9:15 is the earliest you'd ever want to pull your overlords back. The only thing that can kill your overlords that isn't a queen are layer tech units, Hydralisks and Mutalisks. If he goes Hydralisk, you fist pump and just go fucking kill him. If he goes Mutalisks, the earliest they can come out on 2 bases is 10 minutes, and you need 45 seconds to run back home safely. 9 minutes and 15 seconds. Maths. Maths. Cool. Maths. If you're feeling really scared, you can do it at 9, but, you know, 9:15, and then you run your lings around a little bit and delay him by another 15, 20 seconds.
Our forces are under attack.
So, okay, we're in this position that's fairly even. We might be feeling a little bit concerned, just due to the fact that we are, we're a little concerned just due to the fact that we're under a little bit of pressure, but Urk is going for this double gas thing at the start. And what I'm seeing at this point is that Urk is doing a little bit of the too much defense at the start of the game. You need to get pretty specific with your defense in Zerg vs. Zerg. Either going like Spine Queen and focusing on that. Most common is a Spine and some Banelings. I like that quite a bit. And the worst thing you can do is build a shit ton of roaches and lings at this phase. Why? Because you're trying to win with hive tech. You're trying to win in the long term. Getting drones now and building fewer units now will help you with the late term. So Banelings, Queens, Spines are your money units at the start of the game. Even if you really feel like you should go roaches, I will tell you, sure, that can work, but I will not permit you to do it. I want you to do Spine, Baneling, Queen-focused defense. I want you to do this. And if you have all these overlords very meticulously positioned, all about the center of the map, then you'll be able to see when something's coming. And of course, if you're in an emergency, you just build lings. If you're in an emergency, you can't be like, well, shit, I better build drones. I'm clearly going to die, right? You can build some drones, lose a few games because you don't quite have enough units, and then try to find the money spot. But if a huge amount of roaches is coming, that's the Zerg technique. Huge amount of units coming will flood with the unit I last wanted to build. So per usual, we see the ease of defense in this sort of situations. Not a sweat in the slightest. So Urk is going to go ahead and be getting himself up a lot of drones, a roach warren, a layer. I love it so far. Looks good. And, oops, I was looking at the wrong person. Yeah, this is looking great. We have some Zerglings, but you're probably seeing that we don't actually know what's coming at us. This is one of the most difficult spots to be in without these overlords. We're seeing some Zerglings here. Maybe you saw some stuff, but if we had an overlord here, and then another one here, and then one's ringing here and here, well, I just said 5 overlords. Well, there's 4 of them. Oh, there's the other one. Alright, cool. Yeah, we could easily, totally have done this. And once again, we have kind of a simple, straightforward defense. A little bit of an overly eager transfuse, but things are looking good. The only thing that I would probably have said is that earlier on, probably around this moment in the game, we needed to be way mega droning. Once again, we see these idle larvae, and we can't quite spend it. We're focusing a little too much on building queens and spines and not enough on getting all our larvae out of the way. There's 3 larvae, here's some more larvae, here's a whole bunch more larvae. That's almost always a good litmus test for if the build order is going wrong. So we get this defense up, and now it's time for us to do something in mid-game in Zerg vs. Zerg. Some tense defense going on, but Blink manages to hold down. Urk here, I've been trying to stay in the general space, but I'm going to be just a little bit more specific with these comments. In this spot, since you are already going for roach speed, flooding with Zerglings for defense doesn't make as much sense as flooding with roaches for defense. The Zerglings will serve the temporary purpose to keep us alive, but then we'll be flat. Whereas if we flooded with roaches, sure, they'll actually take an extra, 9 seconds or however long it is. But it's still worth it. Actually, how much longer is it? Zerglings are 24 and... Oh, roach is 27. Alright, 3 seconds. Excuse me. And likewise, these spines... This is one of these situations where I would actually say, because we're going for roaches, we shouldn't be building spine crawlers. We should be building roaches. Because not only will they serve the defensive purpose, but we really kind of want to build roaches to do some attacking. This is all in line with the don't build lings, don't build the spines right now, build the roaches. So one might say something like, Day 9, you were saying earlier on, do the as cheap a defense as possible. Don't build those, don't build a whole bunch of lings when you could build spines or queens. And don't build a whole bunch of roaches when you could build infestors or something like that. That's true for the defense. We're trying to gear up for an attack. And doing these overly defensive moves will cripple us. We can build the roaches, they'll do the same thing as the spine crawlers, but then we can attack as well. And I'm thinking about attacking because, hell, I'm going 3 hatches on 2 base. What else would I want to do but macro really hard and attack? I'm not going to build 3 hatches and then turtle. Goodness, no. We also see Urk struggling to spend all of his gas. And in fact, in the unit station, the #1 reason things are going awry is the drones. We're just not building enough drones. I mean, we have our 3 hatches up, we're macroing out of them, we're trying to keep our money as low as possible. Trying to target fire here, we're getting in some tense battles. Maybe felt like we defended properly at the start of the game, we broke through. Ah, excellent, we did it. In that unit station, we're just still behind on drones. I mean, like, it just adds up huge over time. The Mutalisks pop up, we're suddenly forced to build a whole bunch of spores that we didn't really want to build. We build a Hydra Den. And we're actually going to see Urk lose quite a bit earlier. And it all comes back to this moment where we're just not emphasizing drones quite enough. We're thinking of all these reasons not to build drones, about these extra queens and stuff. And it's so easy to get in this habit of, oh look, there was the big attack, and I held it off here. Where is it? Yeah, oh, I'm awesome, I've transfused, I stayed alive, transfused. You don't actually need to do that much analysis. I'm even remembering a game that I saw Idra play a long time ago, where Idra got 10-pooled when early expanding. He went ahead and did it and had to cancel his hatch, and then he defended. And then Idra built a whole bunch of drones, and his opponent followed it up with an attack and just killed him immediately. Why is this totally okay? Because he was doing the correct thing, focusing on building drones to help him focus on that long-term goal of winning at Hive Tech. And he just went with the plan that he knew, and it turned out that the 10 pool was incorrect, or his response to a 10 pool was incorrect. You can't fix that in this game. You cannot fix the decision you've already made wrong in this game. You have to fix it next game. So it's totally okay to just follow through and make a whole bunch of drones and lose weirdly, because the last thing you want is to get to a position like this, where you know what the answer is to what went wrong in Camp Urk? He didn't have the proper response to a 10 pool, and he should have been focusing a lot more on droning. That's it. That's the complete answer. How do you deal with a Zerg on 3 base who's going mute or roach? Well, that's actually not a situation that should happen, because you should have had a good way to defend against the 10 pool to begin with. So, ordinarily, I take questions, but tragically, I went way longer than I intended. This is now a 32-minute segment of the daily, which is bad. And everyone in my house is waiting for me to go to Korean barbecue, because I was like, we will 100% be going to Korean barbecue at 8:15. 100%. No longer than that. I prepared this time. Don't worry. But that's fine, because I'm just awful at my job. Oh, that's right. I'm doing Zerg dailies for the rest of the week. I figured some Dong Ragu games would be good. Sound good? Dong Ragu games? You like Dong Ragu games? I was hoping to do that. So we'll be doing that on Wednesday and Thursday. And that's it. Fun Day Monday for next week. Give me a game at Monday at day9.tv. The website Monday at day9.tv. Of you, when you attack, you may only attack worker lines. Sure, if he sends his units there, you may battle there. If he attacks you, you may defend that, but you may never engage him in the middle of the map voluntarily. You may only begin attacking at the worker lines. I want to see maximum harassment. Bam! I'm done! Done with the daily. Yeah! Thanks for watching!